Influential guitarist, Jimi Hendrix. James Marshall Jimi Hendrix, born Johnny Allen Hendrix, November 27, 1942, September 9, 1970, was a guitarist, singer, and songwriter from the United States. Hendrix, who was born in Seattle, Washington, began playing guitar at age 15. He enlisted in the United States Army in 1961, but was released the following year. Soon thereafter, he relocated to Clarksville and subsequently Nashville, Tennessee, and began performing jobs on the Chitlin circuit, landing a spot in the Isley Brothers backing band and eventually working with Little Richard until mid-1965. He then played with Curtis Knight and the Squires before relocating to England at the end of 1966, when Animals bassist Charles Chandler was appointed his manager. In the summer of 1967, Jimi appeared back in the United States at the Monterey Pop Festival. A mix-up backstage prompted Jimi to follow The Who on stage, where he destroyed his guitar in a frenzied frenzy after a magnificent performance. Following the release of The Experience's first two albums, Are You Experienced? And Axis, Bold as Love, Jimi's career surged to the top of the charts. However, tensions, probably related to Jimi Hendrix's drug use and the continual presence of hangers-on at the studio and elsewhere, began to fracture several of his relationships, including Charles Chandler, who resigned as manager in February 1968. The Experience released their most successful album, Electric Ladyland, in September 1968. However, Redding quit The Experience in early 1969 and was replaced by Billy Cox, an old Army mate with whom Jimi had jammed. Jimi started experimenting with various artists. For the Woodstock Music Festival, Jimi created the Gypsies, Sun, and Rainbows, which included Mitchell, Cox, an additional guitarist, and two percussionists. Hendrix and his band gave their lone Woodstock performance in August 1969 near Bethel, New York, where they were scheduled to perform as the closing headliners. Due to the travel delay and logistical issues, Jimi played on the final morning of the fourth and final day. Jimi's fiery rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner became the counterculture's song, but only 25,000 of the initial audience of 400,000 lingered to witness Jimi and his band perform as the closing act. After Woodstock, Jimi created a new band with bassist Cox and drummer Buddy Miles, releasing their debut album The Band of Gypsies in May 1970. Jimi's final album, Cry of Love, featured former Experience drummer Mitchell on drums and bassist Cox. Jimi's drug issue eventually caught up with him, however. On September 17, 1970, while residing in London, Jimi Hendrix took sleeping medications prescribed for his live-in girlfriend Monica Danneman. After midnight, Jimi had an apparent adverse reaction to the tablets, which caused him to vomit and then drop out. Assuming he was in good health, Danneman went out to get cigarettes for them. When she returned, she found him lying where he had collapsed, having ingested his own vomit, and she was unable to awaken him. Jimi Hendrix did not regain consciousness after being transported to a hospital by an ambulance summoned by Danneman. He was pronounced dead shortly thereafter. It was his 27th year. Jimi Hendrix's life was brief, but his influence on the rock guitar is still audible today and ushered in a new age of rock music. Died at the age of 27, making him a member of the 27 Club. The 27 Club is a group of notable musicians who passed away at the age of 27. The Rolling Stones co-founder Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison of The Doors, Alan Wilson, Kurt Cobain of Nirvana, and Amy Winehouse are among the other members.